So the budget, what does that tell me? It tells me that if you're a working man, fuck you, right? And if you're a benefit sponger that considers getting up the duff as many times as you can as a career move, which it fucking is, okay, fair enough. Now, here's the thing, right? I understand that people want to have kids, all right? But when I was younger and I was with my missus at the time, before we had my daughter, we went, I can't really afford this. But my dad said to me, he says, you can never really afford it, but you make allowances to make sure you can afford it. And he explained, he said, it was like this. Before we had you lot, obviously life was much better. No, he didn't say that. He can't do. But he said it's like this. We had to give up things so that we could afford to have you. And that's how it is. There's a reward to having kids, but there's also a trade-off. I.e., you lose your nights out, you lose maybe a holiday or so on. You lose stuff like that for the luxury, the gift, the joy, and I mean this, of actually having a child. And it is, by the way. It's a pleasure that's not always given to everybody. There are some people that can't have kids, and there's other people that don't actually appreciate the kids they've got. And there's some really wanky parents out there, I'll be honest, right? But here's the thing. We had my daughter, we realised that, all right, we could make things work. We didn't have benefits, all right? It fucking worked. Now, the two benefit thing, or the two child benefit, I was completely on board with, because what it does is it stops idle, useless wankers deciding that the best way forward is to have as many kids as possible and sit on benefits. Because do I agree with that? Do I fuck? Why the fuck should the taxpayer be picking up your shit lifestyle, your loose whatever it is, your inability to use birth control, and your complete lack of effort to get up and fucking work, you tired cunt? Now, benefits are meant to be there for sick people and people who actually genuinely, I should say, need it. Not fucking assholes that come to the country with X amount of wives and kids in fucking different households, because what they're actually doing is coming here to take over the fucking place and turn it into an Islam. We'll get on to Islam in a minute, right? So that comes into this. Now, I don't agree in that. The VAT hasn't helped. They've put up taxes for people who have retirement age people, pensions and stuff like that, so that hits them. Now, I've told you before about socialism, Marxism, communism, and it trying to seep its way into Europe, and it did, all right? And then, obviously, what it's been trying to do over the last X amount of years, because this government, I would say, was more communist than socialist, but it says it's socialist, right? It's weird, actually. If I'm going to go into it, when you talk to a communist country, they say about our socialist state, right? So, but anyway, I'll cut to the chase. Socialism, the theory being, is all things equal and everybody gets looked after, and there isn't any great divide. The reality is, rich people fuck off, middle class people get dragged down to being poor, poor people get fuck all, total and utter state control because they realise that the place has gone to shit, and more rules and draconianness, and they have to decide how rich you're allowed to be or how not. And this is what this government's done. This government has worked out that it doesn't want you having any spare cash. It doesn't want you saving. It wants any inheritance tax to be hard. It wants property tax. And stealth taxes everywhere, right? But I've been saying this for ages. Their plan is to alleviate you of all of your finances so that you've got literally nothing and you live from week to week. Like me, I've got things like motorbikes and a car and stuff like that, but I rent a flat and I live from week to week, all right? That's it. If I wanted a holiday, I don't have the money in the bank to go pay for it, I have to then decide what am I going to go without with and save up and have a holiday. I am lower class. And the thing is, because I'm a worker, right, I have to then watch people who don't work have holidays, have huge TVs, have a car in the state. Now, in my village, there are two people who are completely capable of working, fit, healthy, decide to smash the cocaine like fuck, right? Because it's a family thing, right? And now they're wandering around the place while still dealing cocaine, right, in a brand new fucking people carrier supplied for by the state. Why? Because they were clever enough to go on the internet and learn how to plug the system. And now they're permanently signed off. While they're still going to the gym, fit as fuck, and they're still dealing cocaine. How does that make me feel as a taxpayer? Fucking annoyed. What is the incentive for a person like me to go to work? You think about it, what is it? The minimum of 11 hours a day, possibly more depending on what. That's 5 days a week. And then at the night time and on the weekends, I'm trying to save the club with the others, right? And I realised that they've actually put up alcohol duty, so that isn't going to help. They've put up the minimum wage, which isn't going to help small businesses. And they've set the tax off against this other principle, which actually doesn't bear out well. I can't remember the name of it. But the thing is, right, if you've got say for instance, you're a civil servant and you've got a pension by the state, right? That is to say, not the state, the system itself, all right? If you work, say for instance, for the government, whatever, remember this, you will have all the benefits that being a civil servant has, okay? Your pension won't be affected. But if you're a person like, say for instance, me, who has to set up their own pension, that will be affected. If you're a person who's worked all their life and you're old now, and you now have a house that's worth X amount, they're going to tax you some more. They were even putting out on, I think it was BBC the other day, ways to devalue your house. That has to be the sign of a failing state, doesn't it? And by the way, BBC being the British Broadcasting Corporation, or brainwashing, or what I would call corporate state propaganda, I should say, right? Anyway, when I look at the system at the moment, because we've got this government that's literally, it's going to bring in the ID thing, which is going to cost billions to put in there, which you'll pick up the fund, you will pay for, right? But what it'll then do is track every move, so it can work out just how much more it can tax you, and also at the same time charge you for the pleasure, and at the same time in the future work out, because they'll attach it to it, what your social credit score is. Are you allowed to go and do this? Are you not? Now, when I talk about, because I'm old enough to remember looking at videos, programs, and all the stuff like that about communism and the Eastern Bloc, and how lots of people couldn't afford a car and could hardly afford a property. They were working for peanuts. They didn't have any food on the shelves. They, oh yeah, farmers, they're fucking them as well, aren't they? Didn't have any food on the shelves, just didn't have anything, and alcoholism went through the roof, which they were making their own, so obviously people sometimes would go blind because there wasn't always good alcohol. But you just had desperation, depression, and people just existing. Well, that's where it's going to be going anyway, right? But before, say for instance, if you looked at Islam in Iran, it promised all the people that if you got me in, right, what I will do is I will make it a much better place for you, right? Promises you the world. And so does socialism, right? But the same with both of these is they live a lie, they feed you lies, and what you actually end up with is total and utter control and misery. They totally control you. I mean, this government is trying to work out how exactly it lowers the glass ceiling for people like myself, so that you'll never get any money in the bank. And the whole purpose of making sure that people don't have any finances, that they can't just take time off, is to make sure that they can't become a problem. Because people that don't need to work all the hours God sends just to pay the bills have more time on their hands to look into what's going on and go, hang on a fucking minute, I'm not happy about this. They have more time to actually come out and strike. Now, when you go about striking, if you're a farmer that's getting fucked in the ass, especially if you're a farmer that's had the land and the farm handed down to you by your parents, you are in the crosshairs, all right? And you're not allowed to strike because, well, you're probably more likely to be right-wing than a lefty, although there are left-wing farmers out there, and you're the ones that we actually want to screw. But if you're part of the plasticine, then you can go out and do whatever the fuck you like, and you get pretty much walked through wherever it is by the police, he'll do fuck all. Now, I'm getting to the stage where, which is why I'm not doing too many videos, because I'm thinking people should know all this by now, but every now and again I just think, fuck it, I'll have a rant. Now, if anybody's seen my last video, they would know that what I'm doing at the moment is working on the community. Go and see that video and see what I'm doing, but it is working, and things are, well, they've said that the club that I'm working on is the best it's been in 20 years. That's a compliment. But when I look, as I say, to places like the Eastern Bloc, before they got into power, they promised that they would look after the worker more. They promised they would do all sorts of things to make sure that Joe Public was in a better position if you voted for them. Turns out that that was a complete lie. But what it's doing is it's incentivizing the idle, right? It's incentivizing the thick, all right? The people that can be bought, right? So say, for instance, you want to be a useless idle fucker, you'll vote Labour, because Labour will make sure that you can stay a useless idle fucker, all right? Now, there's going to be a lot of people that don't like this, couldn't give a fuck. But it realises that the worker probably wouldn't vote Labour anyway, because he can see through it. Mind you, not the Conservatives, a great deal better anyway. In fact, politics nowadays is completely and utterly fucking poisonous, right? And if it actually gave a shit about the worker, it wouldn't be flooding the market full of fucking cheap labour anyway. Because when you look around at regional distribution centres, you look at building sites, you look at all this, if it's not an Indian working there, it's an Eastern European, or it's a, I don't know, somebody else from the sub-Sahara, right? And very few of them actually speak English. And also the manners are fucking appalling. The way they look at us like we're something at the bottom of their shoe. But you make sure that you get cheap labour that you can shit all over. And as long as whoever is the ganger is getting fed well, right? He's usually the big hard cunt. He looks after them in a way that I wouldn't call him being looked after, right? But there it is. I mean, if you remember, truck drivers' wages were at a set height, okay? COVID came in, they called us all heroes for going and doing our jobs, put the wages up, they went, we'll have that back, and they dropped the wages down severely. If you think about the average wage for somebody, say for instance 20 years old, right? Right, the basic wage, he doesn't really need to know a great deal. All he's got to do is show up and just not offend the boss too much, and basic wage, right? I mean, some people work their ass off for the basic wage, but there are other people, basic wage. Well, I know people that are driving lorries for £13.50, right? Why? I don't know, but they are. Now, you look at the risk of driving a truck. Obviously, I think it's about the 5th most dangerous job in the UK. Number 1's being a fisherman, and they get fucked. But what do you have to do? You have to take a medical every so often. You have to do periodic training, which costs you money. You have to be as on top as you can, because at the moment you've got speed cameras everywhere trying to catch you out. You've got obviously all the extra, I'm just talking about me now as an employee. You've got speed cameras trying to catch you out, you've got zones you can't go in, you've got fluctuating speed limits on the motorway, you've got just everybody's looking to take a chunk out your ass, right? And you've got a boss which will keep on top of you because he is being penalised financially, and it's getting harder and harder to make any money. Now, if we go back to the pubs, with a socialist government, they've got to demoralise and collapse the state, right? So that they can bring on this great utopia that's called socialism, which is bullshit. It's never worked anywhere, right? The closest you got to it was Yugoslavia under Tito, and even that was starting to crack come the end of it. And he, from what I can gather, I used to think he was quite clever because he'd managed to keep all people together, but no, he used threats and violence, as do many of them. But anyway, I digress. They've got to ruin the fabric of this, and if you look at how many pubs are closing at the moment, now I'm not saying being a pisshead's a great thing, but I would suppose that maybe if alcohol's a lot cheaper, then people wouldn't go and do as much cocaine as they do, right? Maybe. Now, they've hit gambling, online gambling. Now, I'm not a great fan of gambling at all, but if you're a gambler, you're gambling on anything. But when you look at the very, very, very rich, these people have their money offshore, or they'll move and they'll take everything and they'll go put it somewhere else. But their taxes are going to hit things like small businesses. And how does a person actually save up now? Well, they've made it so much harder to save because they've super taxed everything, stealth taxed everything. And if you have any savings, you've got to be taxed on that. How is it that a person's meant to actually start a small business? Because as somebody else said, that a mature business, a mature company isn't the engine of revenue, whereas a small business that's growing quickly is the one that helps the financial system. All right, but how is it we're meant to get more people into work if small businesses can't start because people can't get going? And the other thing about the state trying to tax you into when we get onto the green tax, or as I call it, the fake tax, what they want to do is make sure that we do lose all of our assets and that everything becomes state-owned. Well, fuck me. Haven't we learned anything from history? Or you might actually say that they have learned everything from history, and they know that a country that's completely controlled by a totalitarian dictatorship or state is a place where the super rich can live comfortably, not having to worry about anything really, and the rest of the peasants, which is what we are to them, just have to pick up the bill, suffer, go without. I mean, they're on about child poverty. How the fuck, in the name of Jeff, have we got child poverty, given the fact that we're a first world country? How do you do that? I mean, when you can sling billions at invaders coming into this country which don't fucking like us, right? And we've now, well, Danny Tomo went over there and found out that the French state is facilitating, in fact, laying on all the transport to get them over here, which our lot will know about, which means that when they talk about the gangs, that's all bullshit, okay? And this is a systematic, state-run fucking genocide stroke takeover to send us all under Islam, at which point we'll be a lot more easy to control, and anybody that dare steps out against what fucking little Ayatollah comes in, right, will just literally have the full force of whatever misery they decide to bring down on you, whether you end up with a minus a head or whatever it is. But it's all heading in that direction, and I would say I don't get why people don't get it, but they do get it, but they just don't actually think of doing anything. When I sit around in, whether it be a right-wing pub, a centrist pub, a left-wing pub, even the lefties get it, but they don't want to talk about it because they're so fucking terrified of being ousted by the rest of their loudmouth, overtly fucking insane, virtue signalling, fucking free bleeding, airy leg, fucking piss flaps, right? That they're just, oh, it's better not to say anything. And that's actually probably why pubs and clubs like the one I'm in are actually gaining people, because they can come in and just be themselves. Nobody's judging anybody, all right? If you come in and, I don't know, you're a lefty or you're a righty or you're fucking centrist or whatever, and you're common sense, you'll be just fine. Of course, if you're a fucking nutter, you're probably fitting as well. Just kidding. But there it is. Anyway, I shall now get on. I haven't put a rant out for a while, and that is 17 minutes of fucking venom slung at a lunatic government. I mean, I did say that Labour getting in would be a good thing, and I meant it. And here's the reason. If we'd have had a lot slower strangulation of us, which is what would have happened under, say for instance, Conservatives, then people wouldn't be waking up in their droves. But they are, which is what's needed. Because if you wake up slowly, they're still farming in, it's the only thing they are farming, millions of fighting age Islamic men who fucking detest us, who want to take over. And to be honest, all the time that they're telling people to sit on their ass, get fat and sling one up their other useless other half and spit out some more useless, brain-dead fucking kids that they'll label with every fucking thing they can because it's a benefit scam. How many of those kids are just wankers because they were brought up by wanker parents, right? And how many of those kids actually, if you took them back to the 1940s, right, and put them in front of a parent then, would all of a sudden, within about 3 weeks, be a fucking lovely child after they got over the... Yeah, I can't say that, but you get the idea. Shit parenting because the shit parents had shit parents, and because there was no accountability of fuck all, right? And now they've worked out that because they're inherently shit and useless, that the only thing they can do is sling custard up each other and keep spitting out fucking retards. That's about the sum of it, right? Oh, my kid's got ADHD. No, he's a cunt. My kid's got autism. No, he's a cunt. My kid's got this. No, he's a cunt because you're a cunt. That's it. That's the reality of it all. None of those kids would have been diagnosed. Oh, but they've got new ways of diagnosing. No, they've just made sure that they label every cunt or every fucking wanker special. You don't get that in Islam, do you? Play up over in those countries. Oh, I can't do this because I'm whack. There you go. Can you do it now? Because that's what it would have been in my day. I'm going to call Childline. There's the number. Now, fuck off. I'll get you out of my hair. Me and your mum can go on and have a nice fucking happy life without you. Well, then shut up and get on with it. That was exactly how it was in my life, right? I mean, both my parents, well, my mother actually really didn't want us, but, or at least that's what she used to tell everybody. Oh, you're an accident. You're a mistake. Cheers, Mum. But she used to instill that in us so that we never ever felt like we should be thinking we were due any more than what we got. And rightly or wrongly, and in some cases when you probably look at it, not rightly. But it was one of those that me and your dad never split up because we couldn't decide who had to have the kids, not who got the kids. That was the ongoing joke. That's what my mother used to say, right? Now, admittedly, you don't feel very fucking wanted, but you realise you walk a fucking thin line. You have to toe the line because at the end of the day, you're lucky to be there. You're lucky that your dad goes out and works all of these hours to make sure that you've got a nice roof over your head. And why is it that you don't have all the trainers and your new bike and the Adidas shit that all of those kids on the fucking council estates have? Why? Because you don't fucking need it. What you need is 3 square meals a day, fucking discipline, and if you want it, get your fucking ass up and get it yourself. My dad used to say, why is it you haven't got a paper round? I said, because not interested. He said, well, how can you afford how can you afford to do things and buy stuff for your bike? Because I'm not paying for it. I said, well, I won't fucking, I'm quite happy to go without. This is the one thing he couldn't get the concept of. And I was quite good at wheelie dealing, so that if I needed something, I would organise a deal with a mate, and we would exchange stuff we didn't need, and I could find stuff and do stuff up and things like that. But I learned the value of a pound, and I offset what labour was worth to me against the gift of that labour them giving you money. It's not a gift, but you know what I mean, that labour giving you money to go and buy something. Now, I worked out that my freedom was a lot more important to me than giving up my time to have materialistic things. Whereas on the council estates, these kids just got everything lobbed at them, and there was no, not all of them, some of the kids had fuck all, obviously, but they used to get picked on by the ones that had stuff. School was a bit harsh. But yeah, I've gone on a bit of a ramble, but basically I'm one of these that, it's like my flat. I have a very, very basic flat, incredibly basic. I've got one TV, right, and that's not linked up to any outside stuff, and I don't watch anything live because I won't pay a TV license. It's linked up to YouTube. That's it. But I'll be honest, you see people that have to keep decorating their flats or their houses or whatever it is, and I never did get that. I mean, once it's clean and it's painted, why have you got to keep changing it every fucking 6 months or a year? And do you know what? The people that you see doing this, right, some of them are the ones on benefits, right? I mean, I speak about one female, right? Her mate is on about $5,000 a month because she is an absolutely abhorrent fucking parent, right? But she's managed to label every one of her kids, right? This other one's decided to have some of that and labour all of her kids. But she has she has like 2 grand, 3 grand in her bank, and she can go out and drink, she can go out to the gym, go out and have her nails done, go out and do this, and every now and again, oh, I'm tired, I've got to lie down. Fuck off. But when she goes out to the club, she'll flirt with other men, expect to be bought a drink, go and get some work done at a local garage, give them some bullshit about why she got to take the car away and then not want to pay them, because why would she give any of her stuff away? Everything is for her. Everything is a meal ticket. Everything's to be given for free. Fucking useless, tired cunt. But she's not the only one. There's fucking thousands of them up and down this country that expect to have everything for free. It started years ago over in Wales when fucking wasn't just there was other places. When the pits got closed down, they gave up, a lot of them. There wasn't no work around, so they just went on the dole and that was it. Now, years and years later, those same families have had kids that have gone onto the dole, that have had kids that are going on the dole or still on benefits, and it's called BFL, Benefits for Life. I might have talked about this before. And they'll come out with the same bullshit that Margaret Thatcher ruined this fucking area and there's been nothing ever since. But why is it we got Eastern Europeans in all the factories and you lot are sat home doing fuck all? It's because you're useless as shit, you're tired. Now I admit that the Eastern Europeans have run down the price of labour, but why should anybody pay for your useless fat fucking ass? Why? I don't want it. And then somebody would say, oh, this is just the fucking system making everybody hate each other and it wins. Well, no. Before socialism, before the state, before all that lot, if you had nothing, that was it. So you either get up off your ass or you fail. Now, as I'm saying, if you are disabled, or if you generally are worthy of benefits, I don't have a problem. That is for the... But if you're one of these useless cunts that could work, that doesn't work, I would happily see you starve to death. And I mean that, right? Rather than pay for your useless fucking parasite ass. Because, why should I? Why should anybody look after you? You're useless. You're shit. Your morals are shit. Your ethics are shit. All you are, and you're not fucking, I don't give a fuck how patriotic you think you are with your fucking St. George Cross or your fucking British flag out there. If you're sitting there leeching off the fucking system and not working, you ain't patriotic. You're just trying to look patriotic. God, fucking got off on one, haven't I? Oof, quite enjoyed that. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments. I'll see you in a bit.